The storm had just passed. Its echo still rumbled in the distant mountains as the explorers reached the ancient valley. The air was thick, charged with the smell of wet earth and old secrets. Sand stuck to their boots, whispering beneath every step. Each explorer carried a torch, the flames flickering like restless spirits in the gloom. They stood before a half-buried doorway, stone, massive, inscribed with symbols older than memory. The leader, a scholar in a sand-stained robe, placed her hand on the cold surface. Her breath caught. This was it, the lost tomb of the forgotten king. A hush fell, broken only by the low chant of wind threading through broken pillars. With a heave, the stone door groaned open. Dust exploded, swirling in golden shafts of torchlight. Inside, the air was cool and still, untouched for thousands of years. Shadows danced along the walls, revealing faded paintings of long-lost ceremonies and battles. The explorers stepped through, hearts pounding, eyes wide with awe and fear. In that moment, the world outside faded away. All that mattered was the darkness ahead, the mystery of a tomb that, for generations, had refused to give up its secrets. They pressed on, deeper into the ancient silence, each heartbeat echoing in the cavernous halls of the past. The tomb was just a single thread in a grand tapestry. Outside, the lost city sprawled across the valley, its ruins etched against the storm-washed sky. Crumbling walls hinted at former glory. Archways carved with intricate patterns, statues of lions and gods standing watch. Towering columns rose from the earth, cracked but proud, holding up nothing but memory and sky. In the distance, massive palace steps vanished into the mist, worn smooth by centuries of wind and rain. The city had once been alive with music, the clatter of chariots, and the shouts of market traders. Now only the sound of thunder remained, rolling over empty streets. The explorers could almost see the past. Warriors in bronze and leather, their shields gleaming, marching in tight lines through the gates. Scholars in flowing tunics hurried beneath painted porticos, scrolls clutched to their chests, debating secrets of the stars and fate. Priests in jeweled headbands lit incense in shadowy temples, their prayers rising with the smoke. Artisans, backs bent, carved stories into limestone, leaving them for the gods, or for someone like these explorers to find. Here, amid shattered beauty, the explorers felt the weight of time. They sensed the hopes and fears of a civilization now lost to sand. What secrets still slept beneath these stones? What message had survived the fall of kings? The tomb's interior was a theatre of shadow and flame. The explorers moved carefully, torches held high. Firelight licked the dark walls, glinting off ancient gold leaf. Each step sent clouds of dust swirling, catching the light like 1,000 tiny stars. The silence was absolute, broken now and then by a distant rumble or the drip of water from the cracked ceiling. One wall showed a mural, faded but fierce. Warriors charged across a painted battlefield, spears raised, banners streaming. The explorers paused, tracing the battle lines with their eyes. In the flicker of torchlight, the battle almost moved. Shields clashing, arrows flying, horses rearing in terror. Some felt chills, as if the spirits of those ancient fighters watched from the shadows. The air was thick with memories, of power, of loss. The explorers' costumes added to the drama. Heavy boots, canvas jackets, leather belts hung with tools. A scholar wore a blue scarf, the colour of hope in a place full of ghosts. A young warrior, part of the team for protection, stood guard with a sword strapped to his side, his face tense and eyes alert. Outside, thunder rolled again. The explorers pressed on, the music of the storm mingling with their own heartbeat. They could feel history breathing, close, urgent, waiting for them to listen. At the heart of the tomb, they found the sarcophagus, a masterpiece of carved stone, polished to a mirror sheen. But when they lifted the heavy lid, their torches revealed only emptiness. No mummy, no crown, no bones. Only a scattering of dust and a single ancient scroll wrapped in faded silk. The explorers stared in disbelief. The empty tomb was more chilling than any skeleton. Where was the king? Why leave the tomb bare? Was it a trick, a warning, or a sign of something greater? The silence pressed down like a shroud. Every explorer felt the chill of disappointment, but also a flicker of hope. What had they missed? They searched the chamber, tracing every groove and symbol on the walls. The air felt heavier, charged with the weight of a secret waiting to be told. A gust of wind from a hidden crack made one torch gutter, casting wild shadows across the floor. In that moment, a scholar noticed something strange. A set of symbols on the far wall, hidden from the entrance by the angle of the stone. The empty tomb was no accident. It was a puzzle, a doorway to a deeper truth. The explorers' disappointment turned to determination. They would not leave until they revealed what this place was trying to say. The wall was smooth, but under the torchlight, faint lines shimmered. The scholar waved the flame back and forth, eyes narrowing. Slowly, the message began to emerge. Ancient letters, carved so lightly they were invisible in shadow. Only the right angle of light brought them to life, dancing in gold and silver across the stone. Excitement grew. They dusted off the scroll, careful not to tear the fragile silk. Inside, the writing matched the hidden symbols, strange, beautiful, and full of power. The scholar's fingers trembled as she read aloud. It was not a curse, as some had feared, but a warning. The king had left this message, not for his people, but for the future. Beware the fire from the north. Remember the wisdom of peace, for kingdoms fall when pride blinds the heart. As they read, an image came to life in their minds. The lost king, facing threats from a distant empire, had chosen to leave his tomb empty, his body hidden elsewhere, his message preserved for those wise enough to find it. It was a plea for mercy, a lesson in humility, and a prophecy of war and peace. The explorers felt the chill of destiny. This message was not just for them, but for every generation that followed. It was a bridge across time, offered in hope and warning. The scholars gathered in the tomb, translating every line, every symbol. The message spoke of a kingdom once mighty, its armies vast, its knowledge deep. But pride had led to ruin. The king, wiser in old age, had hidden his own remains to break the cycle of violence. He trusted that only those who truly sought wisdom would find his words. The explorers imagined the old king's final days. He watched his city crumble from palace windows, storms gathering on the horizon. He saw warriors fall and temples burn. In the end, he chose humility over glory. His message was a call to future leaders. Remember peace, cherish wisdom, and beware the arrogance that destroys empires. The scroll and the wall together formed a map, not of land, but of the heart. a code for rulers, a lesson for all. The scholars realized this was more than history. It was advice, wrapped in riddle and regret, left for those brave enough to listen. As they decoded each line, the explorers felt tears rise. They thought of their own world, full of conflict, pride, and promise. The past was speaking, and it was asking them to change. Word of the discovery spread quickly. Historians, leaders, and artists flocked to the site. The Lost King's message became a symbol, shared in classrooms and halls of power. It changed how people saw the ancient world, not just as a story of war and conquest, but of wisdom and warning. The empty tomb became a place of pilgrimage. Visitors stood in awe before the inscribed wall, feeling the chill of ages in the stone. They imagined the king's lonely decision, his hope that someone, someday, would understand. The explorers shared their story in books and films, their faces lit by the same torchlight that had revealed the secret. Aerial views of the lost city showed its beauty and its scars. Libraries and museums filled with new questions, new debates. Was the king's warning heeded in his own time? Would it matter now? The message, once hidden, now shaped the future. In the end, the secret changed everything. It reminded the world that history is not just the story of the powerful, but the wisdom of those who dare to leave a message in the dark, hoping it will someday be found.